I was once called Satan because Satan is black. I was once called Shadow because I am too black. I was once called Darkness, still because of my skin color.
A lot of Indians don't like black people because if you have a baby with a black guy, they think how dark it will come out. And in my case, this is true. So my family always called me dark growing up. Mind you, I'm not that dark, but my mother is darker than me and my father is lighter than me. So of course, then you get me. But apparently I'm still dark.
Women of color spend more than $8 billion on bleaching creams worldwide every year. We tend to focus on skin bleaching in Africa or the Caribbean, but it's actually practiced everywhere from the Americas all the way to Asia.
More than $400 million worth of skin whitening products is sold each year in India alone.
Unfortunately for me, unlike all the women in your family, I haven't been blessed with flawless skin and a great complexion. But this is me. This is what I look like, and I own this shit. I don't need makeup to make me feel like I'm better than anybody else. I am beautiful just the way I am.
When you know who you are proud of who you are. When you know who you are confident. When you know who you are dignified. And when you know who you have respect for yourself. When you are blessed with darker skin, society automatically categorizes us as subhuman. And we develop what you call a high level of inferiority complex. This video is designed to debunk that fallacy because you are created in the image and likeness of God Almighty Himself. Let's ride into the video.
Okay, so before I started my series, I wanted to tackle this question right here. A lot of Indians don't like black people because if you have a baby with a black guy, they think how dark it will come out. And in my case, this is true. So my family always called me dark growing up. Mind you, I'm not that dark, but my mother is darker than me and my father is lighter than me. So of course, then you get me. But apparently I'm still dark. So when I was pregnant with my son, all my mom would say is how dark my child was going to be. Now, when he was born, when you look at the top of a newborn's earlobe, you'll see what color they're going to be, basically. Their pigmented earlobe basically tells you how dark or how light the child is. So what she said was, he's going to be so dark, look at his ear. I was like, huh? I didn't get it until later that she thought that because of his ear, he's going to be dark. And well, anyway, colorism is a big issue in India, and that could be why they don't really like the intermingling with black people. Now, that being said, my mom did remarry after my parents divorced, and she did marry a white guy, and my sister is half white, so she's super, super bright. So, yeah.
In the Philippines, if you have a fairer or lighter skin, you're more prettier, you're more beautiful, and you have a lot of advantages.
Across the Philippines, women have reported signs of mercury poisoning. The culprit? Cheap whitening creams that often sell for a little over $1. I wanted to know what these products were and why people would risk using them for paler skin.
It's a serious concern. This kind of cheap skin whitening creams, you can buy it everywhere.
There's one man fighting this issue on the front lines. Tony Dizon, an activist at Eco Waste Coalition.
So the hidden camera has been positioned in her bag and it's pointing directly outwards, and she's going to wear her bag on the front.
Wait. Anong bestseller yung mga papaputi? Sa mukha lang. Safe to ate,
All right, so they just did the undercover buy, and let's look at some of the products that you got.
Armed with these creams, the next step is to take them back to test just how dangerous they are. But why do people take these risks at all?
They're not looking to be white like a white person. They're just looking to be like lighter skinned because historically that's what they perceive as not only beautiful, but as also powerful.
Back at the Eco Waste headquarters, I'm about to find out just how much risk there is.
And what are the legal limits of mercury in these products?
Yeah, for our country, it has a limit of 1 part per million.
1 part
Only
per
one,
million?
yes.
Okay. All right. Wow. So this is over 4 times the legal limit.
More than, it's 42,000. This is in percent, so if you will gonna convert it times 100 or times 1,000, then this is 42,000, way beyond.
Tony and I tested every cream.
The fashion is bleaching skin.
Okay.
What do you...
Right now in Jamaica, if you're not bleaching, you're not saying nothing, because bleaching turn up the thing. So when you bleach, America look more nicer, look more sexier, and look more cuter than you was.
Some people would say they want to look like Beyonce or what you call that, Nicki Minaj. I want to look like Nicki Minaj.
Do you ever think about it and just wish that it was different and that the trend was to be black?
The only difference I wish you had in it was if it could happen faster without damaging your skin.
Show me what you do.
Alright, this is Bio Cream. Now this is Jamaica's baby in bleaching. Very and this is for your hair. But girls have found out that this volume 40 is like one of the big things that just brings up the cream, gives you that, first it gives you that reddish look and then it just takes it off.
All over the world, many people have suffered from the same white supremacy ideology, which put itself on top of the color hierarchy. And when you're darker, you're inferior. And this video is designed to debunk that myth.
Dear black people, here are some of the things that school did not teach you about melanin.
Melanin, but it's also in your nervous system, which causes you to transmit information faster and to store more information than any other race. Melanin is also in your eyes that cause you to absorb more color than any other race. And of course it's in your ears, and you absorb more sound. So you will see colors differently than anybody else, and you will hear differently. So therefore your music will always be different. You always put together colors differently. Melanin is in your taste buds, which cause you to have the ability to taste the full flavor of the food. You absorb more taste. So you always combine your food differently, and you eat somebody else's food and say that's bland or whatever you want to say. You know what I'm saying? It's what we call the biochemical marker of life. The more melanin you have, the more civilized you are. The more melanin you have, the more psychic you are. I'm saying the more melanin you have, the more human you are.
When European anthropologists started running through Africa and started describing what they saw, their urge was to say, everyone in Africa is this thing, and they have dark skin, woolly hair, and that is a thing. And they called it a race, and they called it the Negroes, okay? And this is our attempt to classify into few categories something that might actually, in real life, be on a spectrum. We know that the human species began in Africa. And everybody who populates everywhere else in the world came out of Africa to do that. What that tells you is that the genetic diversity within Africa as the origin of our species is greater than it is between any other two people anywhere else in the world. But because the anthropologists were not thinking genetic diversity, they're thinking skin color. They put them all in one bin. But if you have the most genetic diversity, then in practically every way humans vary, you would find the extreme of that in the African continent.
Well, if you make the assumption that the human race arose like around the equator and skin color, dark skin color would be the phenotype, then are you assuming that as people moved outward, there was a mutation, and if you were in the north, it allowed that mutation to live, which is how we got white people?
Yes, that's,
Would that follow?
yeah. If Nina Jablonski, who spoke at another one of your things, explained this, and she played a role in studying the reason for dark skin, which is if you have lots of intense sunlight, it destroys folic acid, and it turns out folic acid is really important for babies to develop properly, so it's not too good for a population for the babies to not develop properly. So that's why dark skin. Now, as you move north, there's another essential vitamin called vitamin D. There's an intermediate, biochemical intermediate, that needs to be then converted by the liver, but that intermediate's formed by UV light going through the skin. If you're near the equator and you have a dark skin, it still gets through enough to get your vitamin D. But now if you go north and it's cold and you wrap up and it's less sun because the sun's coming at an angle now, you will get rickets and have other problems supposedly. So that's thought to be the reason for selection for lighter skin.
Yeah, so I'm visiting a couple countries in Africa, and the few countries that I've been through, I've had several people tell me, please don't bleach your skin. Please don't bleach your skin. Like, it's so sad that it's a bleaching pandemic. For all the women who want to bleach your skin because of a man, and the colorism, and to be lighter, to be prettier, don't bleach your skin. You're gonna look pink, you're gonna look gray, and you're gonna look like a Dalmatian. And guess what? That man will still cheat on you. Love yourself, y'all. Love yourself. It's so crazy that I've gotten so many of these things, so many people telling me, please don't bleach your skin. Like, it's so sad. My fellow people in Africa have to tell me not to bleach my skin. I'm already confident enough in myself to love my skin color. But to hear this from like numerous people from the west to the south to the east, come on, y'all. Anyways, Africa is amazing.
Did you learn something from geography, the sun, and human anthropology? In the meantime, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because this video is designed for you to know who you are.
Do you know what some insecure people do to make themselves feel okay? They lift themselves up by putting other people down. Sad, eh?
I was once called Satan because Satan is black. I was once called Shadow because I am too black. I was once called Darkness, still because of my skin color. I was once called a monkey. Yes, this is my story. It took me years to fall in love with myself. The beautiful Angela you see, the beautiful Namobilu you see, was once called all of those things. Sunshine. Because they don't see me until I smile. But right now, you tell me nothing. I know who I am. I love who I am. I am good enough because I am me. I am beautiful. But when I say that I'm beautiful, it doesn't mean I'm better than other people. I fell in love with myself, with all my flaws. I know that I'm not perfect, but at least I'm me. Every day, I work on myself to be better. To all of you girls around the world, thinking that you're not beautiful because you're black, because you're dark, because black is the color for funeral. Black is the color for sadness. Stan is black. Make sure every day you work on your traumas.
you work on yourself, you'll be better. Try to take care of yourself, your mental health. You'll find you. Look for yourself, you'll find you. You are good enough just the way you are.
Melanin pigment, right, is so unbelievable, George. They're using it in computer chips now because it has an ability to transduce electrical energy. Can you imagine this? It has this incredible ability to hold on to and transduce and manipulate electrons, electronic energy, and photons, photonic energy. It's a fascinating molecule.
Here's where I'm gonna say something that's gonna make a lot of people uncomfortable. I think a lot of us blame Bollywood, but Bollywood is a reflection of society. It's showing us the mirror. If they celebrate classism and colorism and an obsession with outer beauty and thinness and Western ideals of perfection, it's because that's what we celebrate. That's the hard truth for us to acknowledge. Culturally, that is what we celebrate. We just don't like to admit it. I'm not saying you do. I'm not saying I do. I'm saying that culturally, this has not changed. Fair and Lovely was a $1 billion industry on its own. There's still whitewashing actresses in movies. Even when you watch Indian matchmaking, you have people talking about, oh, I want to marry someone in my caste. I want someone who's light-skinned. Like, is Bollywood the problem or are we the problem?
Love who you are and love the way God Almighty created you.
Again, but I'm gonna simplify it again. You know, I carry myself like I'm an average dude because I don't see myself no better than him, no better than him, you know, or no less than him. So if he could say that he likes skinny women, if he prefers skinny women more than a more chubby or heavyset women, he could say that and nobody won't get mad at him. I just said I don't like women with my complexion. I like light-skinned women. I want you to be lighter than me. I love African-American women, but I just don't like my skin complexion.
Okay, well, I like your skin complexion.
We too gutter. Black people, my complexion, we too gutter. Light-skinned women, they most sensitive, you know?
Some dark-skinned women out here sensitive.
No, they too tough. They too tough. Light-skinned women, we could break them down more easy, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Which doll is the pretty doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll?
Skin lightening is a trend in India, is it? And Indian people spend $100 million a year, I read this, on skin lightening products. Is that true?
I think it reflects in when you see the matrimonials and you see requests for a fair, you know, when fair comes in, I guess, yeah, that is kind of ingrained that people are happy to have fair daughters. It comes up in the matrimonial and you know, in the marriageable phase, these things do get discussed, which I think is absolutely uncalled for and totally unwarranted. Because
enhances consciousness. So you definitely, yeah, that's really, really recent, late breaking kind of research that's coming into the forefront, but it will do, again, what we don't understand, and obviously, as you know, it's been so suppressed, and probably Billy's looked into this, but melanin is a very powerful structural, you know, basically an energy generator, right? So like the stronger the melanin production in your body, the more, quote unquote, spiritually inclined and in tuned you are. So
do you actually understand the spiritual and the scientific power of your melanin? Then if we do, why is it we are programmed to hate the gift that God gave us?
There's somebody even studying that and wondering whether energy is directly absorbed from the melanin in your skin and transformed into energy in your body. Okay? And they even think about could in the future, and they're developing this now, they're taking melanin and making batteries out of them that store energy from the sunlight directly. It might in fact become a future source of how we're going to generate energy. Now, let's background. Let's talk about melanin inside chaga and melanin inside the body. So it absorbs thousands of times more electromagnetic radiation actually than chlorophyll does, and chlorophyll is what we need to make proteins and sugars, especially sugars in the body. It exists in many other tissues, as I mentioned. It's actually a very important molecule in any woman who's having a baby, because the fetus has all this melanin in it, as I'll show you. Okay? And it's thought to be, by some people, a master molecule that actually steers how the body communicates. For example, Frank Barr, a scientist, wrote a whole... Okay, here's an example of a plant. It's an eggplant that has melanin in it, and a genetically changed one that is no melanin in it. Notice the size of the two difference. I mean, this is an indirect indication that melanin, directly can transduce energy in the vegetable kingdom. Now, the body is a living matrix, and you really want to get this. The body is actually a communication system where everything is connected to everything else, and it works through light. It works through light. It's called biophotons. And in this communication system, cells have connections to other cells called integrins, and electrons and light flows between cells. So it's like a supercomputer. Your body is like a supercomputer, and the skin is connected to every other part of the body else. And so these cells connect to the connective tissue, which the skin is part of, and it all works like semiconductors. Now, semiconductors, like computer chips, are made out of silicon. These are living semiconductors. Your body is made out of this complex supercomputer that figures everything out, and this is what energy medicine is all about.
As the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
So this young lady has been bleaching her skin for a long time, and I would not advise this. Skin bleaching can be very dangerous, not just for your skin but also for your overall health. Most skin bleaching products contain hydroquinone, mercury, as well as corticosteroids in varying strengths, but most of the time they actually contain very, very strong corticosteroids. And what these ingredients do is that initially they will give you that lightness or that yellow hue that most people may want, but after a while they actually darken your skin and give you a very uneven skin tone or uneven pigmentation. Especially hydroquinone. Hydroquinone damages the skin permanently. It causes a condition called ochronosis, which is irreversible damage of your dermal fibers. Other things like thinning of the skin, visible blood vessels, increased risk to infections, especially viral infections and fungal infections.
Nigerian media personality Toke Makinwa recently opened up about her regrets regarding skin bleaching. In a candid social media exchange, Makinwa referred to the decision to bleach her skin as the dumbest thing ever. She emphasized that if given a chance to change one thing, it would be her choice to bleach her skin. Her admission sparked a significant discussion on social media about colorism and societal beauty standards.
Self-hate is a worse form of hatred.
What's going on with people that are from northern latitudes, like Norway up there, and they have like super light blue eyes, and people from like equatorial latitudes, they're always dark brown eyes?
Yeah, I mean, this is a story about melanin. Same as like melanation in the skin. So when you live near the equator, your body, most people will think about, like, let's say centralized dermatologists. They'll say the skin has more melanin because it's protecting the body from UV light. That's not the whole story whatsoever. That melanin is actually productively using that UV light. Like I mentioned, when high quality, high UV index sunlight interacts with melanin in your skin, it can split water molecules and make free energy essentially for the cells. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge reservoir of potential to tap into. If you're biology, you want to leverage that energy coming from the sun. The UV light is very high energy wavelength of light. So you can leverage that to actually give your body free energy. And what we actually didn't talk about is that in addition to making the alpha, beta, and gamma endorphins, which work on the brain and mood and dopamine status, we also make alpha, beta, and gamma MSH, or melanocyte stimulating hormone, in response to UVB light in particular. So the melanocyte stimulating hormones, as the name implies, stimulate the production of melanin in the skin and also in other parts of the body as well, like the deeper parts of the brain, etc. But in addition to that, they also directly work on the hypothalamus, in particular alpha MSH, to suppress appetite and increase energy expenditure. So the hypothalamus is the thermostat of the body and the brain. And that, if you hear that phrase, like that statement, it should be like, wow, that's like a holy grail, and especially in weight loss, because if you want to lose weight and maintain healthy body composition, you want to have a lower appetite and a higher energy expenditure, right? And even I remember talking to my old boss at Penn, mentioning a bit about this story in the beginning when I was learning about it. And he was like, yeah, alpha MSH, like that's been a marker for obesity for years. Like it's been very highly associated, like low alpha MSH or modulations in that pathway is highly associated with obesity and metabolic syndrome.
To a phase where I never dated anyone because I had that in me that I'm black, I'm not beautiful, no one will date me. So the first time I even dated someone, I was at the age of 28. So you can imagine. My mom is Indian, my dad was a Nigerian, and growing up I always had very low self-esteem, especially because of my skin color. Sometimes I tell them like, no, I'm born and brought up here, like, you know, I'm from Mumbai, and they're like, no, your hair, no, it's not possible. Most men would not want to be seen with me. The guy I was dating, his mother actually told him, you can't marry this girl because you'll have black babies. That's the extent of colorism.
What is it about the black man that has him so addicted to any other woman except his own? And it is the psychology of self-hatred. Mind you, up until 1967, when the Supreme Court struck down in Loving versus Virginia, the final laws in the country against miscegenation, you hardly find a black man married to a white woman. You wasn't allowed. You end up strange fruit hanging from the tree. Jim Crow did not tolerate it. So soon when the Supreme Court overturns Loving, as soon as they struck that law down, black men went crazy. They went to find anything they could find that was not black because of the self-hate. If I look in the mirror and I don't like the way Umar Johnson looks, I definitely don't want my son or daughter resembling me. So what I'm going to do is conduct my own eugenics experiment.
So from now on, learn to love yourself, because when you love yourself, you respect yourself and you respect others. But most importantly, when you love yourself, you love God Almighty, and you will teach your children how to love and appreciate themselves. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.
Sun is shining, the weather is